Thanks for listening while we take that short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And now we're going to get back to your host.
Greetings, folks, and welcome to the second hour of the Morning Star Report for August 14th, 2022. And the atomic time is 4:01, 14, 15, 16, 17. I'm on the atomic clock because a couple of weeks ago, my computer fried, and it took me quite a few minutes to get back. And after I got back, I forgot to reset the clock, and I was starting shows, 4 minutes late, and that's not my style. So now I am on atomic time, and it's also to warn you, times are perilous. There is a group called the Society of Atomic Scientists, and they have something called a Bulletin of Atomic Scientists. I was a member of it for a very long time. And they had something called the atomic clock. And they used to put how many minutes to midnight, according to the severity of the threat of nuclear war. It once got down to about 5 minutes to midnight. And then it got back to reasonable times. Well, I think it's creeping up there. We're having problems now with China. I don't know if you know, but there was an inflammatory visit by Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats to Taiwan, which has driven the Chinese communists crazy. Well, following up on that, I don't know if you heard, but Senator Edward Markey of the state of Massachusetts, some people call it Massachusetts. Sorry. There's half of it is Massachusetts, and the other half has become Massachusetts. So Edward Markey and a group of Democrats, no Republicans with him, is on Taiwan right now, even as I speak. So again, I would hearken back to that famous saying of Nikita Khrushchev: if you want to worry your opponent, rub on his blister. And Biden, Pelosi, and now Senator Markey of the state of Massachusetts is rubbing on the blister of Red China. A very dangerous thing to do because the consequences are nuclear. The Chinese, for the first time over the last few weeks, fired live missiles over Taiwan, right over the island, to explode on the other side of the island. Not only that, they are manning a blockade. They have surrounded Taiwan with their navy, and they are blockading Taiwan's shipping. Taiwan, on the other hand, has started its own live fire drills and live fire exercises. Last week, I was watching civil defense exercises in Taipei, and I saw people lying down. You remember duck and cover from the 1950s? If you're going to have an atomic attack, get under your desk, get under the table, put your head down, put your butt up, and hope for the best. Well, I saw the people of Taipei and Taiwan going through mass exercises 3 times that week. And as they lay down in the streets, sounds of explosions were being detonated, and flashes of light were being flashed upon them to simulate an attack from China. The times are perilous. The New World Order and the World Economic Forum is trying to force World War III. Forget World War III. We've already had World War III. We're going on to World War IV. But we have to stop it, folks. Do not submit. Do not comply. We can still turn the tide. November elections are the last time, well, the next time, not the last time. Americans will never submit. The people and the spirit of those at Concord Bridge still lives on the majority of us, no matter what the fake news says. So, enough with doom and gloom and the dire threats that face us all here on planet Earth. Let's escape for a little while. I'd like to welcome to the program my friend and colleague Andrew Lane, a very talented researcher who, as a result of the lockdown, escaped the planet Mars. And in the course of that, he has discovered some remarkable things. We had him on the program once before, I think it was about a month and a half ago, and he and I produced a really interesting documentary which can be found on his channel on YouTube and on my channel as well on YouTube. And it's part of the Martian Revelations. I'll tell you about the Martian Revelations a bit later. The 5 Faces of Mars. This program is being recorded and will be on YouTube and will be on Rumble, as well as our own new networks, Stream Life 2, freedomnation.tv, and homenetwork.tv. Over the last year and a half, my friends and partners, John W. Rickey and Alan Fredrickson, have been engineering and creating a new network, a new television network on the internet, as well as a radio broadcasting system that is going to be going out in FM to various cities in the United States. So stay tuned and tune in tomorrow, because I'll be giving you more information about this program and another program that I did on Friday night dealing specifically with the implications of the raid on President Trump. It was on the other side of the news. That too will be on Rumble, on YouTube, and Stream Life Tube, etc. So, Andrew Lane, please turn on your camera and let's go to Mars.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
How are you?
Fine. I see you have your Mars space helmet, just like the
Right.
astronauts wear inside the outer helmet. So
That's
we're ready
right.
to go. Have you discovered anything new in the last month and a half?
Something just came up yesterday that's really interesting. Like 2 days ago, and
Yep.
I can I'll show you that along with some other things.
Yeah,
Whenever
yeah.
you wanna-
Let's go.
Do you want to start doing that?
Share, and then in the second half, I'll turn on my screen share, and I'll show people the 5 faces of Mars and why Mars looks like Mexico, and maybe we'll even do some sand surfing with an alien out there.
Let's see what is going on. Let's see, share screen.
Exactly.
Um,
And, yeah, I don't think you have to slide. I don't think you have to slide the sound button because you're going to be the moderator. So let's go to Mars.
okay. Do you see?
Yes, I see
pictures?
it. It's quite
Great.
it's quite good. It's clear. You can enlarge the screen to full screen if you'd like.
Yeah. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So
But this-
sometimes I think it's just best to go really simple. And this was a gigapan that Nev just recently did a few days ago, and this was found by a guy by the name of Bob Friedman, who moderates a bunch of other Mars groups.
Oh, give the name of the Mars group on Facebook. That's how we got connected. Andrew was kind enough to just start sending me some of his discoveries, and they're remarkable. Andrew has a remarkable eye. He sees things that other people don't see offhand, and then he brings them into the light. And right now I'm looking at a conical structure that seems to have a seam on it. It's obviously cut off at the bottom, tapering to the top.
So
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think so. Actually, Bob Friedman also identified it as conical. I think it's a pipe that's partially buried.
Oh,
and I think that you see a lot of these pipes on Mars and various other gigapans that could be runoff pipes, who knows what. But sometimes, just geometry that's undeniable is so persuasive. And
that's the key, is geometry. If you don't know geometry,
close.
you can't see these things.
This is very close to the rover. So you rarely get something that's relatively clear like this with such stunning geometry. So something small like this is ultimately, I think, really amazing.
Yeah, also the groove is totally unnatural. It's a
Yeah.
perfectly straight groove. Imagine a cone, folks, made of stone or metal with a line, a groove that we would call the altitude. If you look at a cone on the side, it's a triangle. And so the altitude is incised into this object that we're looking at right now.
I mean, I think it's buried. I think it's buried. I think it goes
It's very,
back.
very long pipe.
Yeah.
The way
Well,
that the way it tapers off into the ground.
so I thought this was an interesting one.
Excellent. Hey, can you click off that little image of myself in your screen? That, thanks. Can your screen go to full screen with it?
Do you see the next one?
Yes, I do. Well, that looks pretty alien to me. It looks like a monkey lying with his back against the rocks, and then there's something that looks where the red arrow is. A backrest. What do you think that is?
So,
that looks organic to me.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I've seen several of these sort of skeletal, I'll just call them skeletal remains.
Mhm.
You have I think you have some sort of, I mean, it's almost like a combination of
A shin bone is that what I would call it, with the arrow parallel to the femur, and then the shin bone, the tibia, is there, what you're pointing at now. And of course, the skull looks a little bit like King Kong.
Yeah, I think there's also, it looks like there's some sort of helmet or headgear here, possibly.
Yes, possibly.
Um,
Oh, Andrew, that if you hold down, if you have a wheel on your mouse, if you hold down control, yeah, there you go.
I'm going to come in.
Yeah, that's good. That's much better. Great.
And then I think this thing over here is maybe a weapon or a tool of some sort. You have a long extension pole here, and then who knows, something here.
Yeah,
But
that doesn't look like a natural rock formation to me.
No.
Very good.
I don't think sometimes if you come in too close, it starts getting a little difficult to discern. But yeah, I think you have a shoulder here. I think this is pretty interesting.
Very good.
And this is the original from the Gigapan.
That's right. Well, Andrew has this method. He finds small things in photographs, and then he has the skill to enlarge it and put the frame inside the frame. Oh, I've seen that dome before.
You've seen this one?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've seen that for quite a while, but this is the best copy of it that I've ever seen. Folks, if you know the temple or the mosque that's called the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem, we're looking at something that looks like a facsimile of that. And it is totally unnatural. It is a silver and blue dome that is sitting on top of a rectangular substructure. And I could not give you a better description of it than to say it looks like the Dome of the Rock Mosque in Jerusalem. That's amazing. Do you know what region of Mars was that was, and which rover took it?
This was Perseverance. Now, it's relatively recent. So this is in May. And there have been other finds that have had this sort of rounded object on the top of a ridge. So this is a mountain ridge on this Gigapan, but it's really stunning. And then you have this little section over here.
Right. It looks like a wall. It looks like a wall enclosure around. Well, you know what else it looks like? The radar domes that we have all over the north, or we used to have part of the BMEWS line, the ballistic missile early warning system, and the DEW line, the delayed early warning system. We built these domed radars. The dome was to protect the radar inside against inclement weather. Also, Mount Palomar Observatory has a famous dome that looked like this to protect the telescope. I think that's what you found, Andrew.
That's good. That's really good insight, Robert, because the fact that it's on a high point And there's been other things that have been found that you could argue are radar related of some sort. So that's very interesting.
Fascinating.
What you just said.
Beautiful, yeah. Absolutely beautiful, and not natural. There's no mountain on Earth.
No, I mean, again, we're back to geometry again. I mean,
yes,
how does
exactly?
I mean, plus the fact it's sitting on top of a ridge. So even if one were to say it's eroded rock, it's just not.
We got applause from our radio engineer, our dear, I assume it's our dear Mr. Rowe, just gave us a blast of applause, and we appreciate that.
Thank you. Likes this one?
Yes, he does.
No, that's good. That's good. Let's see what else we got here. How about this? I don't know if you saw this. This got a lot of play back in April. Did I show that? Did you see this one before?
I did see it, but you didn't show it to me. But I did see that, and I said that's one of the most unnatural rock formations that I've ever seen anywhere. It's got a square door. It's huge. I'm sure from the perspective and the land mass around it. It almost seems like a collapsed pyramid, but the most significant aspect for me is the rectangular portal entrance door with shade and shadowing that shows that it is an opening that goes into the interior or leads into the interior of this structure. I cannot call it anything else but structure. It reminds me of Egypt. It reminds me of certain sections of the Valley of the Kings in Egypt where all the pharaohs were buried. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was kind of a little bit of a ziggurat kind of.
Yeah, that's a good word. Yes, a ziggurat. The other thing that's interesting is that there's a rectangular opening, aperture, portal at the base, and right above it, it looks like it's got a circular, again, almost like a. Well, folks, you know the difference between a dome and a cupola? Often you hear, oh, the flying saucer had a cupola. Well, you can't make that statement unless you were inside the flying saucer, because the cupola is the inside of the dome. So that's a misnomer. Flying saucers that have a rounded top have a dome. If you are the pilot and are looking up at the dome from the inside, you're looking at the cupola. Well, this looks like a concavity. It is circular. Again, it's shaded, and it's very interesting to see the juxtaposition of a rectangle with a hollow concavity right above it. Fascinating. That's a great find.
This is a good one.
Excellent. The left side was interesting too. It had two grooves, and it looked like it had a pathway alongside it. We can go on.
Let's go on. Actually, along that same theme of structures, let's take a look at this one. I love this one. This is pretty old. Actually, I found it last year around this time, mainly because of this kind of column-like figuration here.
Yes.
And this is very far. This is very, very far from the rover.
Yeah. It looks like there's a roof held up by 5 columns through which you could walk. When I talk about the 5 columns, I would liken it to the Temple of Luxor in Egypt. And those of you who are Egyptologists and familiar, the Temple of Luxor is this collapsed temple, but the columns that held the roof are still up, and they are enormous. They are enormous. It's very beautiful.
And then you have something over here to the right that looks like a similar roof.
Yes.
Or lower profile roof.
Yes.
But I mean, there looks to just be a whole complex here.
Yes.
And you know, look, you know that they could give you that NASA could give you a better image of this. So it's amazing that we're able to actually glean. I mean, Nev Thompson does a lot of cleanup work on a lot of the images to try to reverse some of the obscuring that goes on.
Yes, he's very talented. I'm going to show a picture that we showed on another program about Mars, and everyone was looking at this circular structure on top that looked like a satellite dish. And then I looked at it more closely. It looks like not only a satellite dish, but a satellite dish draped over the hull of a ship. I will make sure that I show that.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
know the
I
one.
saw that.
Yes, very interesting. Great.
Let's see what else we have here.
Well, while we're setting this up, folks, where did the human race come from? As I say, the first trick of science was to convince us that we all evolved from monkeys, so that when they treat us like monkeys, we won't complain. But the humanity has been on this planet for less than 1 million years, and modern humans have been here for 50,000 to 100,000 years. Starting with Cro-Magnon. Where did he come from? And I believe that the human race has Martian origins. We really are the Martians. I'm not the first person to say that. I think Isaac Asimov came up with that with the Martian Chronicles.
Yeah.
So there was a cataclysm. There was a cataclysm on Mars. It was nuclear holocaust in nature, discovered by Dr. John Brandenburg, who used to work for NASA. And the reason he came to that conclusion was that after satellite scans of the entire surface of Mars, one of the elements that they found in abundance all over Mars was xenon-29. And this is a nuclear isotope. It's only produced in nuclear explosions. And the conclusion was that there was a vast nuclear holocaust in every region of Mars that left xenon-29 scattered all over the surface, a radioactive isotope. Now, that looks like a shoe. That rock looks like a shoe to me. But what do you think it is? What is it? It's odd.
So, yeah, it looks like a shoe is where someone stepped on the back heel or something.
Yeah. It's like they used to call them clogs, or those wooden shoes from Sweden back in the 1970s.
Right.
I was silly enough to get a pair, comfortable until you tried to run.
That's funny. But this is not the first shoe I have found on Mars. So I put the inset of an earlier find that looks like a Nike. It looks like the Nike swoosh.
Yeah.
But I mean, this looks like a shoe as well.
Yes.
Or a sneaker, whatever you would want, whatever they'd be wearing. And this is just amazing proportions. You got the pointed toe. Maybe it was a boot.
It reminds me of Mother Goose. There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children she didn't know what to do.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just it's amazing, and it's
well, it also looks like a boat. There are similarities. When I was a little boy growing up in the Caribbean, there was a boat. It was the fastest boat on the Bluefields Lagoon, and its name was the Lindbergh. And it had the most unusual bow, and that's what it reminds me of. It wasn't a bow that cut the water, but it was kind of a hydroplaning bow, very advanced for the 1940s when I was growing up there.
This is pretty small, though. So
yeah,
I think that you're probably more in the shoe realm.
Yep.
I thought you'd like that one.
Excellent.
Let's show this one. This one's another good one, actually.
The jar.
Did I show this one before?
No, I'm just saying you have a penchant for finding artifacts that look like jars and sculptures. Now, the blue color is the natural color of it, isn't it? You haven't tinted that, have you?
No. I mean, the only thing I would have done, I mean, he's doing something once he prepares the Gigapan that he tries to get a normal color in the background, but I'm just doing contrast.
Right.
And he's
It looks like blue marble.
Like
it's got a neck. It's like the jars that you would find archaeologically. in Iraq. We've seen them going back to Sumerian times, or the pottery that we see in those digs in Israel. Hey, have you ever watched The Naked Archaeologist?
No.
Simka Jakubowicz. He was a really brilliant guy, a Canadian, a Jewish Canadian who went to Israel, and he found the most remarkable artifacts. He found the nails that were used to crucify Jesus Christ in the tomb of Caiaphas, the high priest. They found an ossuary. That's a box in which they buried the bones. But the odd thing about this find was that there was one nail inside the box and there was another nail outside the box. And this was Caiaphas, you know, of Annas and Caiaphas of the Bible.
Wow.
He found it, and he found the listing, and then he realized that the thing was missing. So he went to Hebrew University and knocked on doors everywhere, like, where is it? Where are these nails? Who has them? And they'd been hiding them for years and years and years. So he actually found the nails that Caiaphas kept, the nails that were put through Jesus's wrist as trophies to be buried with him when he was interred. The other cool thing about Simka Jakubowicz and The Naked Archaeologist, he went to this dig that's been going on for years in Israel. And the archaeologist says to him, would you like to do a little digging? And he says, sure. And he gets a pick and he starts picking away. And in 15 minutes, he found the most beautiful artifact. This is probably why I'm bringing him up, because he found a jar with a handle that was better than anything that they had found in 10 years. And they were totally befuddled, like, oh my God, we've been here 10 years. You're here for 15 minutes and you found the best example of pottery that anyone could imagine. So folks, we're looking at a big blue jar, blue and black jar.
Yeah, I don't know. I personally don't know if it's a jar, because first off, it's very large.
Well, I'll call it a jar. I think it's a jar. So,
well, I think it might just be another one of these really odd Martian sculptures that always are slightly bizarre. Yeah. I mean, compared to stuff on this planet.
While we're at it, let's give some credit where credit is due to our friend Rami Bar-Ilan. Rami Bar-Ilan is an Israeli Marsologist. He's got his own web page and he's got his own Facebook page, and this man has an eye. And many years ago, I was really struck. We seem to be finding on Mars a certain kind of sculpture which is multidimensional. And he found one that I discerned to be half a face, and the other half was the profile of the same face. Imagine that. Imagine seeing Mount Rushmore, and you see George Washington's face split in half. So you do recognize, let's say, the left side of George Washington's face. But right next to it is his profile. And we've found several artifacts on Mars that suggest that that was a typical form of Martian art. Now, what is that? What do you think that is?
So I think I would say, from what I know historically on this planet, would be like a Nubian queen sort of thing, where you have the face here, mouth, and then you have this headdress here. But
I see.
Do you see the face here?
Yeah. It's talking about the face. You know, I'm starting to recognize features. These, they're not exactly human faces, but they are skull-like. They will have a head, a forehead, a cheek, a nose, and a jaw, but they're not human. And this one reminds me of a figure which my friend Ron Gibran found, nestled, a giant monolith on top of a cliff looking out with the oval eyes that I associate with the reptilian Anunnaki sculpture, which we may get to see that a bit later. That's a very interesting find.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is more humanoid than some of the other stuff that you're referring to, like the reptilian. I mean, I think that there was a variety of species that were
Yes.
occupying this planet.
I agree. I think there was
uh,
a humanoid and a reptilian, and the humanoids and reptilians on Mars had a war. And the war involved them as a civil war on Mars, but it also involved the fifth planet, which was destroyed. And that may have been the source of the nuclear holocaust on Mars, a Pyrrhic victory. Mars, quote unquote, won the war because the planet remained, but the fifth planet, which is the asteroid belt, was utterly destroyed, which necessitated the Martian remnant coming to Earth. And folks, if you don't believe this story, go see Mission to Mars, because NASA cooperated with that movie completely. And at the end, they depict the astronauts who are there on a rescue mission, finding the face on Mars and finding an entrance. And when they go inside it, they find a hall that is a holographic representation of our solar system. And when they walk up to the planet Mars, an asteroid or two asteroids pass right under the armpit of Gary Sinise, and they show the scenario that I said destroyed Mars. Two huge asteroid impacts totally demolished Mars in the ancient past, and they created something called Solus Locus and the Hellas Basin. So it's worth seeing just for that ending. And at the end, you see the Martians escaping. The vast majority of them went to another star system, but one starship came to Earth, piloted by a female Martian goddess, and she drops DNA into Earth's oceans. And in a very quick display, they show human evolution, the DNA expanding in the ocean, proliferating, and then giving birth to all life on Earth. It's a very beautiful movie. Let's go on.
Okay. That sounds pretty accurate, actually. I mean, I know they're taking liberties, but this one's odd. I'll show this one to you.
Wow.
Okay.
That looks like the sculpture of a body lying on its side and its arms at rest.
So I mean, the thing with the age of a lot of this stuff is who knows how old, but assuming it's millions of years or even a few 100,000, stuff that is organic is potentially looks like stone.
Right.
This one I would have initially said, yeah, it's a sculpture, but then I look at this arm.
Yes.
That's extending out of almost a suit.
Right.
And I look down here and I see extended, alien-like hand or fingers.
Yes.
Digits, yeah. And this possibly being a helmet or a space helmet or who knows what, or it could be feline. This reminds me of a feline type head.
Mm-hmm.
And yes. A spacesuit kind of body, just crazy. Because even if it's
there by the shoulder where you have your cursor,
right here,
you go down a little bit on the ground next to it. There's that structure. That thing almost looks like an axe. Right? There's a handle there, and then the head. Or a spade. Very interesting geometry to that. Again, doesn't look natural to our eyes because
and it doesn't look and it's not human.
Right.
I don't believe.
When I show the 5 faces of Mars, 4 faces that were derived from the original face on Mars, we're going to see that feline theme. It's a cross between feline and human, and corresponding to the goddess Sekhmet. Sekhmet was the lion-headed goddess of the Egyptian pantheon, and she has 2 aspects. She's the goddess of war. She's also the goddess of music and harmony, depending on her mood that day. This is a very interesting find.
I mean, I wonder because supposedly that war that created the nuclear issue that John Brandenburg was talking about, whether that was actually between possibly a feline human race, feline hybrid, and then possibly Anunnaki reptilian.
Well, these creatures, they have a name in classical literature. They're called theriomorphs. Theriomorphs are creatures that are partly human and partly animal. And it's very interesting, Edgar Casey talked about this, talked about there having existed these kinds of hybrids in ancient Egypt that were quite common and were quite real. So they were masters of genetic engineering, the Anunnaki were. And in the scroll of Enki, it is the most explicit description of the genetic engineering of the human being that you are going to read anywhere. In the opening of Genesis, God, quote unquote, says, let us create man in our own image. And it's a plural, our own image.
Right.
God's talking to himself or several other gods, let's just call it the Trinity. And it's very mysterious and abstruse. But in the discovery of the scroll of Enki, called the Instructions of Enki, you hear an explicit description of how Enki, one of these two Anunnaki gods who were given dominion over the earth, his brother was Enlil and he was Enki, and Enki needed slaves to mine gold for the Anunnaki to protect their planet when it comes too close to the sun. So he gathered 14 goddesses, Anunnaki goddesses, and then they took clay, red clay, and they mixed it with their own substances, their own protein, their own semen and spittle and hair. And they also killed a lesser god. They bundled this thing up, an organic bundle. They talk about it as a bundle. Then they killed an Igigi. That was one of the lesser gods. And they took his soul and they stuffed it into this bundle. They took the bundle, cut it into 14 pieces, and implanted the 14 pieces in the 14 goddesses. And they waited 9 months, 10 months, and that was the birth of Adamu, the man of red clay. Adam, Hebrew, means man of red dirt or man of red clay. And it is a pretty explicit description of genetic engineering. It's on the internet. It's on YouTube. It's called The Instruction of Enki. I heartily recommend it. Let's go on.
So actually, since you mentioned Enki and Enlil, let's go to, so this is brand new. I just found this. Well, I found it. I just presented it.
If anybody wants to know what an ossuary, I used the word earlier in terms of Caiaphas and Simcha Jakobovich finding the nails that nailed Christ to the cross. That's what an ossuary box looks like, except that this one doesn't have the lid on it.
Well, I think here's what I thought. Well, some people made the comment, and I think there's some validity to it because you have this round object in the front of an open box but it looks like this is elevated. Yes. So I would say it has wheels. This might have been a light
or a handle.
Yeah, right. So someone had said, oh, maybe it's a mining cart. And I thought about like the obsession with gold and the Enki Enlil group that was no doubt doing mining operations on Mars in ancient times.
Yes.
And this could be a mining cart. This could be a laundry hamper too, but who knows?
It also reminds me of the Ark of the Covenant in Raiders of the Lost Ark at the end when they open up, take off the lid, and all the spirits come out and zap the Nazis. Yeah, that definitely doesn't look natural to me. It also looks either like it has something inside, or it's
Yeah, and then you have your fans of, hey, look, there's someone inside of it.
Yes.
Or
a partition. It looks like it could have two sections. Fascinating.
But I like the fact that it's raised off the ground. It looks like that, and then you have this geometry here.
A knob of some sort.
A knob. Well, yeah, I think it could be. I mean, it could have been a housing for a light if you were pushing this forward, and who knows?
Right.
Did you want to switch over to your stuff yet, or
okay, and we'll come back to you. I'll be quick. We'll tease the audience a bit and hope that they will buy one of my books Folks, I do need your help to keep this program going. And as you know, I produced 2 e-file books, not e-books. They're called e-file books because the E stands for encyclopedic. And encyclopedic because the Martian book is a compendium of the best Mars research that I've compiled over the last 30 years of work. And the Moon book has 900 items. The Mars book has about 1,400. So there's not enough paper to print a book that big. But thank God for digitization. I'm going to start off with the discovery that Andrew and George John Haas brought to my attention. And I call this snakeskin, molted snakeskin on the planet Mars. We're looking at a net, and the net has, it looks like it's woven. Some so-called Mars experts kind of put it down a little bit, saying that it looks like a net for carrying vegetables. I thought that was a little bit disingenuous. To me, it looks like molted snakeskin. And I made a collection of actual photographs of molted snakeskin, and it looks more like that. So, and also, this is a recent artifact. This is organic. It looks like it's, if you thought of it as straw colored, and it could never have lasted millions of years. So I think it's an indication of actual life on Mars. I'm going to go backwards. Here is the photograph that Neville shared with our friend Richard Hoagland. And everyone pays attention to this circular form here that looks quite like a mandala. And it's got crumpled edges, but it's definitely circular. One edge of it is straight, and it looks like it's folded down. So while everyone was looking at that, I cropped the picture to take out all extraneous items, which are a distraction. And it looks to me like it's lying on top of a hull, a ship. Reminds me of the hull of the German battleship Bismarck. So this would be the hull, the bow over here. And here is the prow, the cutting edge. And just coincidentally, the shadowing produce a facsimile or an illusion of a waterline. So that was a very interesting discovery. So I doubled it. Satellite dish collapsed over a hull of a ship on Mars. Oh, here we have the Martian surfer. I thought a little sand surfing on Mars. Of course, this is a joke. Someone has composed a picture of an alien carrying a surfboard on the sands of Mars while a flying saucer is up in the sky. He looks pretty happy with his surfboard. It even has a logo on it. Okay, and the flying saucer looks like it's cropped in there from an actual flying saucer picture from Earth. By the way, folks, I just wrote another article for the Morningstar newsletter, and it's called UFOs Over the Great State of Maine. And it details how a friend of mine sent me a video taken a few days ago, which was purportedly 2 jets chasing a UFO over Maine. And it sparked my memories and recollections of my many trips to Maine, because I happened to have been on that site. It's called Thunder Hole and the Beehive in Arcadia National Park. I used to teach Tai Chi. I would go up to the College of the Atlantic to teach Tai Chi with my friend and student Peter Wayne and a whole wonderful group of Tai Chi students who were in college and the local people. So I got to know the area. So I went to this place called Thunder Hole, and I climbed a structure, a mountain called the Beehive, because it's shaped like a beehive. And you have to hold on to iron railings and clamber up. an iron ladder that's embedded in stone. We got to the top, and my friend John, who was my guide, took me up there. I reclined, I leaned back, and suddenly John said, "Hey, Robert, look, there's a hawk right behind you." And by the time I turned around, the hawk was gone. And he said that the hawk came up behind me and was catching the wind and just hovering just behind me and over my head. But he got to see it. I didn't get to see it. But anyway, my friend Tim sent me the video, and it inspired me to write an article about UFO activity in Maine. I'd like to thank my friend Gary Legere for this composite. It shows the portal that was discovered about 2 months ago on Mars, a doorway carved into solid stone. And he superimposed a picture of me throwing 2 flying saucers. I throw discs, as you know, so it was an actual photograph of me throwing 2 frisbees that fly like flying saucers. And he superimposed 2 flying saucers, and he put a white crow there. Very beautiful work of art. And I thank Gary Legere, the Mad Martian. He has a show on Saturdays at midnight. You can look him up. He's quite crazy about Mars, even crazier than we are. All right, here we have a ball of string. NASA has been releasing stuff, right? And here's a ball of string that took a picture of right at the base of the rover. And there are several other pictures of it, standalone pictures. Here we have the portal. This is the other side of the doorway that we just saw in the composite that Gary Legere did. And this is interesting because it's the left side view, while the one that NASA gave to the world is sort of the right side view. And you can see a lintel stone that's curved. You can see a structure. It almost looks like a scarab beetle. There's a circular form in the center and the 2 wings on either side of it. And the wall looks like egg crate. Another picture of it, an enhancement of it, darkened a bit so that you can see the shading and the shadowing and the layering.
And on here, that was interesting. Did you see that?
Which?
Go back one.
Yeah.
There, I mean, I see faces and everything. I tend to be careful with that, but that's odd. You have 2 round things.
Direct my cursor.
Oh, go up. Go up. Yeah, right. You go back down halfway, a little bit more. Yeah, those right below, the tiny bit below that, you have the 2 right there. Yeah, it's odd.
See. I'll have to study that. But it definitely looks like it's worked. It's etched and it's grooved horizontally. That's why I use the word egg crate to describe it.
Do you know, or you know what it reminds me a little bit of? Because I know you know the Hudson Valley area. You know the stone chambers in the Hudson Valley?
Oh, I've been there, sure.
Yeah.
Magnetic Mine Road. Yes, they do look like that.
Well, and the other interesting thing is you have, you know, it's anecdotal for the most part, but people saying that they've seen crafts fly into some of those stone chambers and disappear.
But they are drawn by magnetism. I believe they come here. They came here, have been coming here. You know, you can't buy natural magnets anymore. Everything is industrial production, neodymium magnets. Natural magnets are prized, and some people think that the U.S. government mines magnets and trades them with aliens. This is the ridge on which that door is to be found. It is up here near the top of the ridge.
Yeah, so right there in the middle.
Others. Okay, let's go on. Here's the door. This is a beautiful picture of the entranceway, the portal, as I call it. Some people think that this structure here on the ground was actually the doorway, which would swing open and shut. And over here on the right, there seems to be some remnant of a mechanical structure which may have held it in place. Be that as it may, this is totally unnatural. They try to con us, you know. NASA, they really think that people can't think for themselves, and they try to con us and tell us this is a typical fracture in stone.
Or they say it's 5 inches tall.
Oh yeah, that's the other part. But you know what gives it away? Our friend Keith Laney said that each of these layers is 2 inches thick. And when you
Right.
count it up, it comes to 96 inches. It was by my math. So that's about 8 feet high. Let's see what's next. Okay, so here's the look at the interior. I enhanced the photograph and I cropped it. And when I cropped it, an interesting thing happened. When I cut out all the extraneous material, we get the shape that appears to be the shape of a hawk's head, the back of a bird's back, the chest, and there on the back wall is something that looks a black stain on the wall. It's got a round head and a thin neck and 2 eyes, and it looks to me like Marvin the Martian without the Roman helmet. There's the wide view of the portal. That is a medium view. Here you can see it. You can see the shape of the hawk, as I would call it, and you see the thin-necked painting, I would call it, on the wall.
It could also be a profile of a reptilian.
Yeah, so you know,
If you have where the
yeah,
eyes are, you would have the mouth. But yeah, whatever it is, it's definitely intentional.
yeah, it's artwork, work of art.
Amazing.
Okay, here's the picture. I love this picture. NASA released this picture with a big cross in the center, a white cross, like 4 pictures put together, but separated and hard to judge. So I cut out the white cross and joined the 4 pieces together, and then balanced out the lighting, so the one was a little more dark than the other. And this is why I say Mars looks like Mexico. That's exactly what I thought. I've seen pictures of the Mexican desert, and here you can see the sky on Mars is blue. The land is red, green, gray, but this looks like a paved road. Pardon the expression. Follow the yellow brick road. Broken up, eroded, but it definitely looks like it was paved.
Yeah.
It goes off into the distance and curves around the bluff on the right side. Okay, this is another version of the Mars picture. Look what they do. They put a screen, a grill over it, so it degrades, dehances the photograph. Back to
They do that all the time. They do that all the
here's
time.
the original. You see here how they split it? They present it to the public with this 4-way split
Yeah.
to make 4 quadrangles. So I took the picture and I eliminated the split, which gave me the view of Mexico on Mars. There it goes again. This is a beauty. I really did a good job. Pardon my expression. Let me pat myself on the back for my computer graphics skill. But I'm very proud of this picture.
No, that's great. Well,
Yeah.
it's also the width of the road is, I mean, assuming that the sizing's comparable to this planet, it's probably about right, you know, because the rover's pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
that's fascinating.
Yes, it is. Okay, this is a work of art by my friend, our co-host Andrew Curry, depicting something else that was found on Mars. Andrew has the ability to look at a picture that's kind of fuzzy, and then he will use his artistic skills to do a drawing, a rendition of it that brings out details that the ordinary person cannot see.
Well, what was that? What was that from? Was that supposed to be like an apartment building or?
No, it was something. Yes, not an apartment building. It was just something in the background of one of the photographs.
It looks like it could be an apartment building. Anyway.
This was by Jonathan Womack, another Marsologist, who put a figure in the doorway of a facsimile of his idea of an alien figure. Okay, here we get to very interesting stuff. What do you think this looks like?
Well, it's got, I don't know, you got a bunch of faces there. Bird.
Well, actually, it's one face. I'm
One.
going to cut
Oh, yeah.
pictures, so we're running out of time. Folks, you're looking here at a composite. The center figure is the original face on Mars. It's a slant range photograph that was taken in 1998, which I consider the best picture of the face on Mars. But it was a slant range photograph, but I was able to put it in computer and rotate it so we have a full face view. Now, I took this picture and I contemplated it for hours and hours and hours. And on the night, the anniversary of the sinking of the Titanic in 1998, which would be April 15th of 1998, I had an epiphany. I looked at it and I saw multiple faces in it. So what I did is I bisected this picture. I split it in half and mirrored each side. And when I mirrored each side, the first figure to come out was this figure that looks like a very angry female lion staring at us. And I dubbed it Sekhmet, the goddess of war. Okay, this is just by splitting and mirroring. Okay.
Right.
Then I mirrored the other side, and it came out with this figure, which I call the face of Osiris, a man with a beard and a conical crown. So that's the face on Mars. You're looking at the face on Mars, except now you're looking at the left side mirrored, and in this one, that's the right side mirrored. And then I stared at this one for a long time. And what happened? Somebody said, turn it upside down. And it turned into the face of a hawk.
Oh, yeah.
This one, the face of a hawk. And then years later, I did the golden mean, and it turned into the face of a bull. So the face on Mars has encrypted in it geometrically 4 other faces. And there you have it. Tune in tomorrow for an update on this. Bye, Mike.
Center Revolution Radio at freedomslopes.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Thank you for joining us. And Andrew Lane and Mr. Rowe. Good night, everyone. Bye.